We're at the site of the Pylon racing, and this is Pete Waters. He's Vice President of District 7. Pete, can you tell us a little bit about the types of racing we're going to be seeing here?
Well, what's going on right now is FAI, the international class, where you run straight fuel, and in fact you can just use 3 servos. Tomorrow we shall start off with Quarter Midget, which is a 0.15 cubic inch engine, and they'll be turning high RPM, almost up to 23,000, and the speeds will be quite high too. It's a shorter course than this and a lot smaller aeroplane, but very pretty aeroplanes, Quarter Midgets. And then the cream of the crop is Formula One. Well, I would say the most beautiful aeroplanes built at the Nationals will be there. They are pretty much scale, just like Quarter Midget is, and you'll see some that'll be destroyed, but they will reach speeds close to 160 miles an hour. And they run high nitro fuel with some of the other elements thrown in, like propylene oxide as an oxidizer, and they change things according to the day, burn a plug of flight.
Amazing. You mentioned earlier that the reason that they make the plane so beautiful, put so much work into the finish, is to jockey for position on takeoff.
Yes, with the times being so close together now in Formula One, minute 9 seconds, minute 10 being quite common, the advantage of taking off first almost guarantees you a win. So to get off first, you have to have the prettiest airplane that's judged the prettiest for the day, and that's how the heats are set up.
Grabbing nice. Very nice.
We're talking with Jett, currently, as far as we can tell, holding first place in Quarter Midget. Can you tell us a little bit about racing this type of aircraft?
Well, Ken, there's a number of kinds of races. We have actually 3 airplanes. One is called Quickie, which you're not seeing today, the kind of thing that most of the club members would have. Second is Quarter Midget, which is this airplane using a 15 engine, has to be stock, and a stock fuel, approximately 15%. And then the big ones, Formula One, the very fast ones that is basically an unlimited kind of event. Now, what we try to do is race as many airplanes as we possibly can during the day in a number of heats, set up such that we race either 3 or 4 airplanes at a time, with a number of rounds such that you race all the competitors that can possibly be grouped together. The race itself is 10 laps over a closed triangular course. In the case of Quarter Midget is approximately 450 feet long. The height of the triangle and the base is 100 feet. In the larger event, it is 608 feet by 100 feet, which works out to something like 2.5 miles. The airplanes cover the course in about 1 minute and 20 seconds in almost every case for all events.
What kind of miles per hour does that work out to be?
Well, in that case of an average, it's probably about 90 miles an hour for this particular airplane, going up to 120 to 130. Top speed on the course, however, is considerably faster than that. The larger ones will hit close to 180 miles an hour, with this one going about 120 miles an hour.
Is it more plane against plane, or is it plane against the clock?
In one event, the international event, it's plane against the clock. However, in the American events, it is plane against plane. You can be very slow and win a race and get the same number of points that the guy that was very fast in the previous heat. So it's extremely important that you be very consistent, that you not turn inside the pylons, which is a penalty, and that you win every single race regardless of how fast you go.
Deb, can you tell me a little bit about this particular aircraft?
Yes, this is a scale model of an airplane called a Little Tony, which is a Formula One racer, a full-scale Formula One pylon racer like you see in Reno, Nevada. The actual aircraft is approximately 25 feet in length, so it's a fairly small full-scale aircraft. This particular model weighs 3.5 pounds, which is the minimum weight that's allowed in this event. It has a foam constructed wing covered with 3/32 balsa wood and then covered with a monocoque type covering. The fuselage is molded from fiberglass and the tail surfaces are balsa, painted with epoxy resin.
Starter is Karen, my wife. Come on out, Karen. All right. Karen's done this before. I think most of you guys know her. She worked here last year. Pit boss is Bob Brown, standing right here. He's going to be calling up the heats. That's his little job. At number one, I got Jerry Denton down there. He's down there working. I was going to introduce him. He ain't here. So, firstly, I want to talk about best finish this year. There's an awful lot of good airplanes up there, and it was awful hard to pick something. But trying to go by the rule book that says excellence and finish and craftsmanship and all this thing, this year's winner is Freddie French. Okay? Now, I'll tell you, there was a lot of good airplanes up there. And,
Okay, we're talking with Karen Yeager. Karen, you're the starter, and I was going to ask you how you do what you do, what it is you do out there on the line.
Okay, well, the job of a starter is they identify the airplane so that the guys at number one can see what each airplane looks like so they can watch for it. And then you drop the flag when the clock expires, and you basically just make sure the races run right. You have a radio, and each one of the pylon judges has a radio also, and they call in cuts to you. And it's your job to see that the cut gets posted on the appropriate board.
Explain a cut.
A cut is, at number one, there are two ways to get a cut. You can fail to go the distance, which is, in other words, not get to the pylon, turn short of it, or you can fail to encircle it. you can go far enough but not go around it. And at 2 and 3, a cut is when you're inside of it. And if you cut once, you have to do an extra lap, which is 11. And if you cut twice, you get a 0.
Okay, I also noticed it's a really intense race, and also it's really intense, the communication and running of it.
It is, because it's very important. If you have a cut, you have to do an 11th lap, or if you are racing and there's a plane in front of you, it's very important if you know that plane has a cut, because if it does, in essence, it's not on the same lap that you're on. It has to do an extra one. And you, as a pilot, you don't want to, be chasing or trying to catch an airplane that's not even on the same lap with you. So it's very important for the pilots to, know right away, and also because if you have one cut, a lot of the pilots back off, which, fly a bigger course and try not to double cut so they don't get a 0.
Jerry, I don't know what you're going to do. I'm going to explain this one. We got some blue on the rudder. We're going to call this one blue. All right, lower it down. The nose is all blue. Both cheek holes is blue. The fuse and the tail has got blue on it. All right, and it has round wingtips. This one we're going to call yellow. The tail's all yellow. It's got no cheek collar. I know you'll never see that, but I'll just tell you. All right, so turn around. Guys, can you see this one's yellow, and the one with the all blue nose is blue.
Okay, we're talking with Dave Shadel. He's one of the top competitors in Formula Pylon racing. Dave, tell me a little bit. I know you work your own engines. Can you give us a quick rundown on what it is you do to them?
Well, basically the engine is manufactured in Italy by Super Tiger, and it's a good sound basic design, very much like the early Chryslers that were used in full-scale drag racing, which were heavily modified. And what we do is a disassembly of the engine, chroming of parts, changing of clearances, and generally adding about another horsepower to the engine. These engines will develop pretty close to 3 horsepower.
What kind of fuel do you use?
Well, basic fuel mixture is anywhere from 50 to 70% nitromethane. The balance is alcohol and oil.
What's it like to compete in these races?
They can get awfully expensive with fuel cost at $30 a gallon and airplane cost, well, you're looking at roughly $1,000 flying around in the air. If they hit the ground, it's expensive. If they don't, it can be an awful lot of fun.
Is there any technique to beating the competition? Where does the competition lie in the actual flying technique?
Well, I think that most people are pretty well matched horsepower-wise anymore. You can buy a competitive airplane already built from a variety of people. You can buy a competitive engine. I think basically it's experience. This is my 11th season of pylon racing, and if you've got a little bit of talent to start with, you can do pretty well.
When you're in the air flying, and are you aware of what the other aircraft are doing? Are you chasing, or are you trying to overtake aircraft?
Well, you basically fly your own race. You do see the other aircraft, but your caller is probably the most important person that you have out here. He monitors the cuts on other people and can tell you where you are in the race at any given time. If you're coming up on somebody, you go down, go up, go outside of them, etc. Because the airplanes are traveling at 175, 180 miles an hour at the end of the #1 straightaway. So you have to know. Basically just experience.
Hey, we're talking with Jessica Therrett. Where are you from, Jessica?
I'm from South Windsor, Connecticut.
How did you get started flying competitively in racing?
In racing, I started about 4 years ago. I've been flying since I was 12 years old, and my father races around our area.
How old are you now?
18.
What aircraft are you flying?
This is a Tony. It was built by Jim Shinohara, Gary Hover, and Dave Shadel also worked on it, all from the Samurai Racing team. It was a gift, actually.
A gift? How fantastic. Was it for your birthday?
No, actually, it was just out of the blue. They built it for me. I think I'm on probation now to see how well I can fly it.
Pylon racing is a very unique sport. The tension, the intense competition, and action of pylon racing is certainly not for everyone. Those who compete every season are a very rare group of model aviators. We asked racers what other RC they fly. Nancy Rutherford's response was typical.
Do you fly any other RC besides race?
No.
It's race or nothing.
Yeah, I practice with a Prather Panther, but that's all. I just do that. I fly some events in England because I lived there for 5 years, and I've been flying FAI there and a thing called Club 20, and those were really fun to fly. But that's all I do is race. That's it.